Hello everyone, I am back once again with another Wi-Fi match, and this one is actually going to be for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl this time, as opposed to Sword and Shield. But yeah, so my opponent for this match is actually going to be a familiar face. It's going to be Puph17, somebody that we actually battled last year. It was towards the end of the year as well, so I think he was actually the last opponent that we actually battled in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And I think because of that, he might be, or no, never mind. I was going to say he might be the first person that I battled in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl this year, but that's actually not true because I actually battled 2 opponents prior, so it is what it is. But anyways, so yeah, the match here, once again, no tiers were specified, so the teams are as follows. My team was actually supposed to be a full-on UU team, but I think my Melodic recently got bumped up to OU. I don't know if Gardevoir did as well. I don't remember actually, so it is what it is. And my opponent seems to also have like something of a mixed OU team himself, because he has a Zangoose and Venomoth and Gastrodon, and I think all of those mons are below UU, I think. I could be wrong, honestly. Remember that I'm not really familiar with the meta in Generation 8, so it is what it is. But here, so obviously there are some things to worry about when it comes to this team. He has a Gastrodon, which I do have Gardevoir to hit it with Energy Ball, but the problem is that if he expects that, then I'm not going to be able to ever get anything going with Gardevoir, so yeah. The other option I have is Drapion. If I can knock off whatever item the Gastrodon has, which most likely is leftovers, that can also help me in the match, but we're going to see what we can do right now. So my opponent is going to lead off with the Infernape, and I'm going to lead off with the Flygon. Now, I personally do not know what to expect with Infernape, but the only thing I don't want is for him to go for the close combat turn 1, because I am not Choice Scarf on this Flygon, so the least I want is for him to not go for that right away. Thankfully he does not, so he's just going to go for the U-turn and go into something else. I went for U-turn myself though, on the off chance he chose to switch out, expecting me to be Scarfed or something, on the off chance he wasn't Scarfed with the Infernape. So now he's going to send in the Skarmory. And here, when I go for the U-turn, I was considering going into Rotom Heat initially. But you're going to see in a bit that I'm actually not going to end up going into Rotom Heat. And the reason why is because even though I can definitely take out the Skarmory with Overheat or do a lot of damage with Volt Switch, I have to consider the fact that he has the Gastrodon, which I already mentioned is going to be a huge problem in this match because it kind of handles a lot of my team very well, and unless I manage to set up with Snorlax, I'm not going to be able to do anything to it, because Gastrodons are usually known for being bulky, so yeah. Something to keep in mind, obviously. So because of that, instead of going for Rotom Heat, I decided to go into Drapion, because he would not want to switch into Gastrodon on a Drapion, because Drapion can just knock it off, and I don't think he wants that. So yeah, this Skarmory, as you can see, it's also leftovers, which is one of the reasons I even wanted to send in this Drapion, is because I wanted to play the offensive role as much as possible so that this match doesn't end up dragging, because with me having my Melodic and him having Skarmory, this matchup can lead to an impasse, and I don't want that, so I'm going to actually try to play this match as offensively as possible. He's going to go for the Drill Peck on the Drapion with Skarmory, and that's fine. It's better than Brave Bird in my opinion, because Brave Bird would have done a lot more damage, and the less damage I take, the better, honestly. So here, after taking the Drill Peck, I'm actually going to try to go into I believe the Snorlax. Or not Snorlax, the Melodic, damn it. Because what happens is that I actually wanted to get the Scald off now that I knocked off the leftovers. That way I can see if I can get the burn, which would be good for me, because that means that my opponent would also be pressured to either switch out or do something that isn't just constantly recover spamming. Something that'll force him to kind of just, keep things going as opposed to just dragging it out. This Melodic is actually kind of built to be more on the offensive. It's also worth noting that Melodic actually cannot even get Toxic in this game either, honestly. Which is kind of insane, because that was actually huge for Melodic back in Generation 6 and 7, so the fact that it cannot learn it in this game is actually kind of insane. In fact, as of Generation 8, a lot of mons that were previously able to learn Toxic are no longer able to. I think they limited it to only the poison type mons, as well as mons that look like poison type mons that are not necessarily poison types, so that's kind of insane actually. And I think that's kind of why I even built my Melodic the way I did here, honestly. I think that this was like the best I could do, honestly. But yeah, so I managed to go for the Scald on this Skarmory and get the burn, which was pretty good, obviously. But the other idea that I had here was actually to go into Snorlax to set up a few curses and then start attacking things with Facade. Now there is a problem with that, obviously, and as you can see, it's the fact that I actually don't even have Facade. I, for some reason, thought I did. I don't know why, but... And I did use this team before, actually, in one of my matches. So it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know why I thought I had Facade on this thing. But you know that I've been pretty forgetful about a lot of things, especially because I've been playing other video games lately. I kind of have just forgotten a lot of things about Pokemon in general, honestly. So it is what it is. But because of this, obviously, I was forced to switch back into Drapion as a panic option because I actually didn't know what to do with Snorlax at this point. However, he ends up like switching himself for some reason and goes into Skarmory, which I guess it's alright. I do have Thunderfang for it. And since I'm Choice Banded, I would like to believe that I can take it out from here, from where it's at. Unfortunately for me, it's actually not going to take it out. However, because it's burned, it's going to be able to go down by the next turn. Thankfully, he did not go for Roost, because if he did, that would have been pretty bad for me, obviously. So yeah, he just went for the Drill Peck. I don't know if he probably could have gone for the Roost if he survived that. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, probably. I don't know, because I feel like it would probably just put him back at where he was. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. If I knew my calcs, I probably would be able to tell you with certainty, but I kind of don't know, unfortunately. Either way, he's gonna go into Infernape now, and I'm gonna have to switch out into Milotic since I do expect the close combat, and close combat is like the only, or Milotic is the only thing that can take a close combat. So I was just like, yeah, I had to do this. Now here's another particularly interesting moment in the match. So here, I wanted to go for the Recover here to keep my Milotic healthy. I personally wasn't expecting him to want to stay in here, but nonetheless I decided to go for the Scald because, well, he can't switch the Gastrodon in and just absorb the Scald. My real concern is if he actually ends up predicting my Milotic to go for Recover and then switches into Venomoth. And speaking of Venomoth, here it is right here. Now my concern with this Venomoth was that if I went for the Recover right here, this thing would not take any damage. Because what these Venomoths usually like to do is go for Quiver Dance and then resist the Scald afterwards, which, yeah, would be pretty bad. But because I managed to just go for the Scald right now, I do get a decent amount of damage before he sets up a Quiver Dance, which he does right here. So now that means that I can go for a second Scald and just see what he wants to go for, honestly. I'm gonna get one more Scald off right here. I believe I was hoping for a burn right here, but I just ended up never getting it, so it is what it is. Now here was a scary moment in the match for me. I was still not sure if this thing had Roost, and I actually wanted to, you know, see if I could actually go for the Miracle right here. Thankfully he does. I was expecting Giga Drain, but he ended up going for Bug Buzz instead. So that was actually even better. So yeah, because you know, Giga Drain would have probably done a lot more damage, and not to mention probably restore its HP. Although, given that I went for Miracle, he probably was going to go down regardless, but he would have done a lot more damage to me, I feel. So down goes the Venomoth, which is really, really good. The risk paid off right here, thankfully, because he could have gone, if he had Roost, he would have gone for that, honestly, or even worse, he could have gone for more Quiver Dances, and that would have been devastating. So yeah, but now unfortunately he's gonna go into the Tangrowth now, and yeah, I don't want my Milotic to take anything from Tangrowth right now. I'm personally, I think my concern with this Tangrowth, because I wanted to say that my Milotic can definitely take Giga Drains from Tangrowths, but I think I was kind of fearing that he might have the Power Whip. It's because, you know, sometimes these opponents like to kind of mix things up every once in a while. But I just didn't know what to expect once again, so I just switched into Rotom just to play it safe. He ends up going for a Knockoff, which is a pretty basic move on Tangrowth, so it's kind of unfortunate that I had to take the bait. So here I'm now going to have to go for probably an Overheat. I sent in this Rotom Heat because I just didn't want to lose my Milotic or have my Milotic take any more damage. I felt like going for a Recover could have put me in a bad situation, so I just went into Rotom. But not necessarily with a game plan, unfortunately. So I just ended up going for the overheat here. I was personally hoping he would stay in with the Tangrowth, but honestly, why would he when he has a Gastrodon right here? Now here, I believe I do switch out because there's literally nothing I can do with this Gastrodon. And meanwhile, the Gastrodon can just Scald me to death. Because I was anticipating the Scald personally, I actually decided to go into Gardevoir. Because what I wanted to do was actually trace the Water Drain ability, which I do right here. Or Storm Drain, whatever the hell it's called. So that I can actually absorb the Scald and even get a +1. But what happens is that my opponent ends up predicting this. He'd have to have predicted this because he went for Earth Power on my Rotom Heat, so he definitely was anticipating me to switch it out. I guess fearing the Scald. So yeah, because he called out my switch in, rather than going for the Moonblast, I ended up going for the straight up Energy Ball. In retrospect, I probably should have just gone for either Moonblast or Psychic, because with Skarmory and Venomoth both gone, there's literally no like switch-ins, like, well, except maybe Gastrodon, because I feel like Gastrodon might have been able to still take the Psychics pretty well, honestly. And I would have had to gone for Psychic against Gastrodon specifically because it's my only way to reduce the special defense, because Moonblast only reduces the special attack, and as long as he just keeps going for Earth Powers, that's not really going to do much, I feel. I feel like I'd pressure him better if I actually got the Spadef drop. But either way, so yeah, I was locked into Energy Ball, so I had to switch out yet again. I went into Rotom Heat right here just to, just switch it in, just to be able to switch out my move later with Gardevoir. And because I know he's going to switch back into the Gastrodon right here, I decided to just go for the Nasty Plot and just get as much damage as I can with the Overheat, because, again, that's literally all I can do. I guess the other alternative was to actually just double switch back here into Gardevoir. I think that was another play I could have made that I just didn't end up doing because I kind of was afraid that he'd try to go for a Sludge Bomb or something. It's also possible that he might have actually also tried going for the Sleep Powder, but I wasn't too sure yet, honestly. So far, I've only seen a knockoff, but nothing more, honestly. And the Sludge Bomb, of course. But yeah, here I'm going to just go for the Overheat, like I said before, just to see how much damage I do. Considering I'm not invested whatsoever with this Rotom Heat, it does a reasonable amount, but obviously, because it's a Gastrodon, it's not enough. With Gastrodon, you have to do as much damage as possible, because these things are able to recover like crazy, and it's pretty obnoxious. So yeah, here I'm going to lose the Rotom. He goes for Ice Beam, I guess fearing the Gardevoir switch in once again. But yeah, no, I definitely didn't want to mess around with that. So here, I end up going into Drapion. I think here I could have gone into Gardevoir, I think. I'm not really sure though. But nonetheless, I'm going to go for the knockoff now that I send in the Drapion. And hopefully the Gastrodon stays in, but I don't think he does actually. I think he's actually going to switch it into, I think the Tangrowth. I'm not really sure though. Because what happens is that I think my opponent at this point actually, he kind of already figured that this Gastrodon is going to be like the win condition for my team. And it's basically going to be crippling my team to basically let Zangoose maybe finish me off or something. So yeah, he goes into the Tangrowth, I get the knockoff off, which is nice, but the problem is that I think he himself already knew that he was gonna lose the leftovers here, and it's not really that big of a deal for Tangrowth because Tangrowth, has Regenerator and can get HP back with Giga Drain. Oh, and did I mention that I also get Sleep Powder? Well, I got it right here. I honestly wasn't expecting the Sleep Powder because he just simply wasn't going for it. He only showed what's it called, the knockoff and the Sludge Bomb, so I was just like, okay, he probably doesn't have the Sleep Powder then. That other move has to either be Giga Drain or even Power Whip, honestly. So, but he hasn't shown any of that, so it is what it is. So he put my Snorlax to sleep, which is pretty bad, and I actually tried going into Drapion to kind of prevent him from trying to take advantage of my Snorlax while being asleep. Unfortunately for me, he ends up hard switching immediately to the Zangoose, and the Zangoose actually gets the Toxic Boost because it switched in, which is kind of insane actually. I thought it had to wait another turn before it activated, but I guess switching it in allows for it to have the thing set up, which is incredibly annoying actually. So yeah, I just lose Drapion because I don't have a switch into a Toxic Boosted Zangoose, and I think here is where I realize that there's only one thing I can do now, and it's going to Flygon and try to get the Earthquake off and just cripple this thing as much as possible, if not just take it out completely, because yeah, no, the Zangoose is gonna run amok if I can't take this thing out right away. So I have to actually dish out as much damage as I can here and hope the poison manages to take it out should he survive. Unfortunately for me, my opponent knows that once again this Zangoose is his win condition along with Gastrodon, so what he's gonna do here is just sack the Infernape, which sounds crazy, but again, I just mentioned it. The Gastrodon and the Zangoose combined is the win condition for my opponent, and he knows it, which is unfortunate for me. Because what he's trying to do right here is wither me down with a Life Orb, because he knows that I have the Life Orb. So what he wants to do with now is just going to Tangrowth and have me go for U-turn, so that I take even more recoil damage, or Life Orb damage, not recoil damage, Life Orb damage, so that way I'd be in range for the quick attack from Zangoose, which is, yeah. Because of that, and I think here, because I took damage from the Life Orb already twice for 2 turns now, here's where I decided to send in my Milotic for a very particular reason. My Snorlax is still asleep, so obviously I can't, I can't put it to, I can't have my Milotic be put to sleep either, honestly, is what I wanted to say, damn it. But yeah. Like he can't put my Milotic to sleep, is basically what I want to say. So what I wanted to see here was if I could actually recover well enough to actually be able to, possibly take this thing out with an Ice Beam. I'd have to play the recovery game a little bit. Since I had time, I figured let's just do that. But I wanted to see how well, because if I can't take the Giga Drains very well, then it probably wasn't going to matter. In fact, I think switching in my Milotic right here was probably a bad idea, because if he'd gone for the Giga Drain right there, I think I might have just lost my Milotic, if not be put in range for another one to take me out. But I decided to just go into it, because I think at this point I just really felt like I might have lost already this match. So I just had to go for whatever I thought was right at the time. So here, yeah, obviously he's just going to keep going for Giga Drains. I went for a couple recoverers. I still wasn't sure if this was worth doing, honestly, so I just decided to go for the Ice Beam right here, because again, I don't want this match to go to time. Here, unfortunately, because he got a lot of recovery from the Giga Drains, this Ice Beam does not take him out, which sucks. And I did get the freeze, but if you know my RNG luck in this game, obviously, or in this generation for that matter, you know that that's not going to last very long, in most cases anyway. So he just gets to thaw out and just continue his shtick, honestly, which is pretty annoying. Here, I was going to try to finish this thing off with another Ice Beam, but he ends up switching the freaking Zangoose. Actually, no, I don't go for another Ice Beam. I go for the Recover instead, actually. And annoyingly enough, he actually ends up making that call, honestly. Had I gone for an Ice Beam, I could have probably tried to get some additional damage and maybe hope that this poison could take it out. Although chances are that it might not have, actually, because it's still at full HP. And because my Milotic is not offensively invested, this Ice Beam was probably not going to do a whole lot either way, so I don't know. It is what it is, though. So here, he's going to go for Facade. I was kind of hoping I'd be able to take it, but nah, because my Milotic doesn't have Marble Scale activated, so I might have lived it if Marble Scale was activated, but it wasn't, so yeah. And here, because Snorlax is actually still asleep, and I don't think I ever got to send this thing out either, so I just basically can't do anything at this point, because Snorlax has to waste a turn in order for it to have a chance to wake up by the second turn. But since I never send it out, it pretty much doesn't get to do absolutely anything. I did send it in right now though, just to see if I could even take a Facade from this thing, and you're gonna see right now that that's not the case, because he's just gonna go for the close combat. So he's playing it safe, basically. I actually feel like he might have been able to take me out with the Facade too, though, either way. Just because, again, it's Toxic boosted, so that kind of gives you like a Choice Banded Zangoose with flexibility, because they could actually switch up the moves and whatnot, which is insane. So here I send in Flygon, and he's just gonna go for the quick attack. And basically, if he takes out my Flygon with the quick attack, that means that my Gardevoir is also gonna go down to the quick attack by extension, because Gardevoir is also not known for its physical attack or physical defense. Damn it, not physical attack. What the hell? So yeah, that's gonna be the whole game basically. I'm basically gonna get like reverse swept, sort of. Like I think I had a lead and then I just kind of lost it, I think. Yeah, I had a lead and then I just kind of lost it. And I think the downfall really started when I misplayed with Gardevoir by going for the energy ball. I think I could have put him in a much rougher shape if I went for the other two moves, that being Moonblast or Psychic, but I didn't end up doing that. So it is what it is. Now, there is something worth noting about this match. So obviously this was another match that once again I ended up losing, and probably just as bad as the last one with the other guy that I battled in Sword and Shield, honestly. So yeah, naturally I was getting sick and tired of these losses. In fact, this was probably like the third loss in a row that I had here, I think. Yeah, definitely the third loss in a row that I had here. So because of that, I was actually going to ask this guy for a rematch, but he just offered it to me ahead of time. So I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, definitely. So what happens is that we did that match, and thankfully for me, I did win it, but there was one particular problem, and that problem was that the match unfortunately went to time, which sucks. I don't know how on earth he managed to make it go to time, but it did. And I was using a team that was actually very, very good against, people who usually try to, make the match go to time. Like usually the team that I was using against him was able to actually, finish matches very, very quickly. But somehow with this guy I was just not able to make it work. So even though I won the match still went to time. And let it be known that as far as Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl is concerned, this is a game that I hold in high esteem by virtue of the very fact that it's based on the Generation 4 games. And because of the fact that all 21 of these matches that I've showcased so far have not gone to time, ever, excluding the ones that are from the draft format, of course. Obviously, there's like a sense of purity that I want to maintain in that aspect. So because of that, even though I won the match, I'm not gonna showcase that match whatsoever, because yeah, like I said, I kind of don't want Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl to have any matches that go to time, since I've managed to make it this far without that. So yeah, it is what it is, but it is what it is, like I said already. But yeah, that's the whole match. And I do have one more match for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl that I want to showcase, and I guess you can say it's gonna be the birthday post, the real birthday post. But it's not much, but it's just a match that I just kind of found somewhere, and you're gonna see how I found it. But for now, if you watch this match, thank you for watching, and hope to catch you guys for the next match, which hopefully comes very, very soon. But for now, just take it easy and have yourselves a good one.